etc. But it was only when it went to the High Court, the High Court then ruled and said that the Supreme Court judge was wrong, it was invalid, and ruled in favour. And I believe it's the same with the Brigalow Corporation, but who's got $1 million to take it to the High Court?
Well, this is it. I don't think we should spend $1 million. The Lands Minister has said that we do have common law and we do have fee simple. That's why I'm asking everybody, because it affects everybody who lives in Queensland and has property, that we send this in to the Minister and say thank you. Now we want to see the Minister move and change these court cases.
That's a very good opportunity. Yes, Mark.
Do you have that in writing, that he said that you do have...
Yes, and I'll be publishing it in the next issue. Yeah.
And he signed it?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. That's what I thought. He had to give an answer, and he was caught in a cleft stick. So what could he say? That we don't have any land rights anymore, and that we don't have... Because I would have published that too. So he had to say something, and he said, yeah, we've got it. So if we do nothing and we just take his word, it will all drift away. But we've got to start standing up now and saying, right, thank you for that. Now I'm going to stand on it. I'm going to tell the council to get lost.
And Ray, thank you for that. Doesn't that support what Colleen Pepperell mentioned earlier, the importance of asking questions? You persist, and finally they say yes or no. And what a wonderful answer you've got. And that, of course, is the thing to do, to publicise that. Why don't you all make sure you find you can get a copy of that in one way or another, and then write a letter off if that excites you. And I think one letter from all of us here, that's a lot of public pressure from all over Queensland, you see. Now, by the way, the government does get involved in much of our lives, doesn't it? They've just been getting involved more in building. They've formed this new building company called Total Fabrications.
That's the one the bank has too.
The bank's using that one as well, are they? Yes, indeed. Our next speaker is a young man who most of his life has been a CPA. Who knows what that is? Yes, indeed, certified public accountant. But Neville was well certified, unlike some of them. And he believes that the tax system is extremely complicated and, of course, complex. The current tax system is obsolete, destructive, costly, inefficient, biased, and a nightmare for most businesses and individuals. What more could you want from a tax system? The courts used to uphold the idea that ignorance of the law is no defence for breaking it. But this has got to change, hasn't it? When you've got just about everybody that is ignorant of the tax laws, even senior experts, how can you say ignorance of the law is no defence? It should be our defence. We should be able to stand up there and say, I didn't know, not guilty. Neville has 3 children and 12 grandchildren. He really enjoys gardening, and his passion in life is to introduce a new tax system, but not like the government new tax system. Who would like to pay no more than 1% tax, but only on certain things? Okay? We'd be happy to give them 1%, wouldn't we? But only on certain things. Well, Neville's talk is the 1% debit tax, and I'm sure you'll all be thrilled to hear the good news of something that is very, very well founded. Let's welcome to the Brisbane Forum's first forum in 2008, Neville Black, a 73-year young gentleman. Fit as ever. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Dennis. I can get straight into it. I mean, I haven't got no preamble or anything at all. But I think we'd have to be on another planet if we weren't aware of what was happening to to the world economy at the moment. And right here on this piece of paper is quite genuinely the solution to all our world's problems. So I will just go through it firstly line by line, and so just take it all in. Thanks a lot. Now, taxation, economic and political reforms are now urgent. I think we all would agree with that. And what we need is a more efficient tax system, which would equal a wealthier Australia. We need smart government, not big government, and that seems to be the way it is. We seem to be putting on more and more public servants. We don't need them, so I've got another note here: more public servants are not the answer. Now, under a 1% debits tax, and I call it the 21, or we all call it the 21st century 1% e-tax, you pay your taxes when you spend your money at the rate of 1%. This is remitted immediately to Treasury by your bank or financial institution. Now, Dennis said earlier, you only pay it on selected things. Actually, you pay it on virtually everything you buy or invest or spend at 1%. Now, the figures we've done, and I've had some very, very intelligent people working with me on this, including my own son, who's got a master's degrees in economics, and he has spent quite a lot of time on it. And so there's a lot of people, and Frank Conningham has been credited with inventing the debits tax, and he had more degrees than you could poke a stick at. He was very involved in the satellite positioning. I think we're all aware of that. So you've got some smart people who have given us a lot of time to do this concept. Compare this 1% tax payment with the multitude of federal and state taxes you are now paying, and which could be claiming up to 60% or more of your income. And our current taxation system is, as Dennis said, outdated, obsolete, destructive, costly, inefficient, biased and a nightmare to the majority of Australian business operators and citizens. And remember, this is the key point, no taxation return required ever. Now, 1% debits tax replacing all other taxes, and that's state taxes as well, would achieve the following and would meet the criteria for a good tax system as specified by the National Tax Reform Summit in Canberra in October 1996. And these are the points that they are in public service come with. It must be simple. It would have very low compliance costs. It would be transparent. It would not be avoidable and isn't worth avoiding. It would provide sufficient revenues to fund government. It would be socially equitable. In other words, it doesn't help the rich or the poor more, or so forth. It would be efficient. And we've come up with some additional benefits. It would encourage massive investment in Australia by Australians. A lot of our people now have their money invested overseas. Look, this would come back. It utilises, and this is very important, 21st century technology which can be swiftly implemented. And it would take politics out of tax policy. Tax revenue would be less subject to economic cycles, and it would shift smart people from the non-productive tax and welfare industry into useful and productive industry. It removes the 1953 double taxation agreement, which enables overseas owned corporations to operate in Australia virtually tax-free. Now, under e-tax, Australians would quickly become the wealthiest citizens on the planet by becoming very competitive globally. To implement e-tax and achieve a wealthier Australia, vote for a supportive candidate at the next state and federal election. Now, a lot of people say, well, this is a federal thing. Certainly it is. It has to be implemented federally. But this is something like 124 state taxes to get rid of all of those. So, now what I've got here, I've got some notes on tax office figures for 2001, 2002. Now, if you're wondering why they're a bit out of date, try and get hold of some. They're virtually unobtainable. Australian companies' total income was 1.5 trillion, but they only paid tax of 27.6 billion. Sounds a lot, but compared with their earnings, individuals, that's you and I, earned 359 billion, and we paid 80.2 billion. So individuals paid almost 3 times the tax while earning a fraction of the amount that business earned. reported in the Weekend Australian dated 21st and 22nd 2005, our public servants have an unfunded superannuation liability of 90 billion, which will increase to 125 billion by 2020. The sale of Telstra and other government assets is linked to the need to fund this huge superannuation liability. Under e-tax, most of the 22,000 plus is about 26,000 now. Current ATO staff plus contractors will have to find something too useful to do. And there's an attachment here. That's where all this information came from. Now, what I'm going to do, there's a copy of that report for everybody here. You can print it, it's up the back there. We won't hand it around yet, but you can take it home and look at what I've said. The attachments are the supporting to what I've said, how the tax fees are costing us dearly. And you can read this yourself and you can understand where I'm coming from. This is what to do with the future fund and with the state of the unfunded superannuation. And this is what's that out of? That was out of the bulletin with Newsweek. Tells you the figures I just quoted you on how unfair the tax system is against individuals. I don't think I need to say much more. I think I've covered, as I said, what you haven't taken on board. There's copies there for everybody to take home and have a good look at it. But anyway, as I said, to implement e-tax and achieve a wealthier Australia, vote for a supportive candidate at the next state and federal elections, and you'll find that they are now starting to look at this. Because we've spoken to quite a few meetings, and everywhere we go, people are 110% in favour of this system. And whatever party brings it in will be there forever, because you'll never want to change them. I'll take any questions now.
Thank you. Yes. Your question, please, sir.
The government knows all this. Do you think they'll ever allow us to have it?
We'll have to make them. This has been the problem. I had a politician tell me, "Oh, Neville, we can't bring this in. It would be too disruptive." I said, "What about your rotten system you've got here? Don't you think that's disruptive?" So yes, we have to. It's got to come from the people, and as I said, I'm more confident now, particularly with this current crisis, because this would never happen. Once this system goes in, we'll all just get richer. Believe me, I've spoken to all sorts of groups on this. There's never been, the politics of envy has never come into it. I've talked about our current system, and someone always gets up and says, "Oh, the rich guys will get more than the poor fellows." You know, this does not happen under the debit tax. Everyone realises they'll be better off.
Thank you. Yes, your question, sir.
Very simple thing. How does this actually allow companies who do not pay as much tax, as you said, very little, how does them allowed to actually invest in Australia more, because they wouldn't pay more tax?
They wouldn't flock into invest here.
Why?
Why? Because, well, what will happen is the rest of the world will have to follow suit, because our prices will just tumble.
Right.
The cost of the tax system and our wages system, our wages will go to about a third, but you'll be able to buy more with you, because there'll be such productivity here.
So this productivity would override the enormous tax burden that the companies, multinationals, will have to pay here.
Well, right now, look, I've worked with multinationals. I know I used to know. Correction, I used to know all the lurks, but and there's lots of them.
Yeah.
So this does. There's no lurks under this system. It's simple. It's uncheatable.
It's uncheatable.
Because you can't cheat under it.
Yes, but you have to, as a company, pay much more tax.
People say to me, "Oh, we'll put all our money under the bed." You know, who would do that? Who would put, when you can get 4, 5 or 6% interest on your money, who would put under bed to say 1%? And I'll tell you one thing, not one more, that 1% would become 0.5% within 2, 3, I don't know, within a period of time. Because it would create so much wealth that you'd be able to drop that.
Are you asking, will it be unfair to
major
companies?
No, it's not unfair. It's just simply, instead of paying $1 on the million tax, I have to pay 1% tax on the $1 million. So it's much more money that I have to pay. So the question is, they will have to pay more.
They will have to pay it, yes.
But it's fair, right?
Absolutely.
But my question was, what brings then other companies to come to Australia?
Well, what will bring them? They will come for that because they'll know the rules. Yeah, right now, the way that what you need to, you used to know when I was in practice, you need to know up to date on the legislation. You had to get around all the rules.
Do you think the certainty and the simplicity will attract them as
Absolutely.
well?
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, any more questions? I mean, what a brilliant idea to only pay the 1%. It's magnificent. And total collections will be greater?
2 to 3 times
Yes.
more than what we're getting now. That's why I believe the...
Isn't that incredible? Yes, John, your question.
Because everybody pays their fair share.
Yes.
I understand that General Motors did a study and they support the 1% debit tax. Is that true?
Look, I wouldn't know.
And also, wouldn't the wages come down for the employers because they're having to, say for instance, the employer pays $700 a week and $200 of that is tax, which goes to the tax department. Wouldn't the employee would get less? He would get less because the tax wouldn't be going out. He would get more, wouldn't he? Wouldn't the employee get more money?
His gross would have to come down.
But his wage would come down accordingly, but it wouldn't come down below the amount that he was paying in tax. So therefore, the employer is better off by being able to pay less money, and the employee is getting more spending power for his money. Is that correct?
In the interest of a fast economy, the gross has to come down, and then after that, you know, as I said, everybody becomes richer, really. And there's a bit of, it's an interesting thing, and that's one point, that one area where you get a little bit of contention, because the guys on $1 million want to stay on $1 million gross, you know, and you say, no, you can't do that. You know, you've got to come down to, let's say, $500,000. And you still end up with more buying power anyway, even at a reduced gross.
But if they're on $500,000 and their spending power is better than on the goods than what they were on $1 million, it's a bit like when Germany knocked all the zeros off the mark. They suddenly went from paying 10 billion marks for a newspaper to all the zeros went off. It made things better off. So is that what you're saying?
And once we overcome those first adjustments, it would be all downhill.
Terrific. Thank you. Your question, sir. Step up to the mic, yeah.
Dave's my name. I'm from the Sunshine Coast. Is there any parallel in the debit tax to what they're now saying about China's economy? I.e. China turning inwardly now instead of being an export market to places like America, because of the sheer volume of or the size of the country, they can consume their own goods. So therefore they don't need to export as much. Does the debit tax work in the same way within, say, Australia? In other words, you're buying your own goods, you're producing your own goods, therefore you only have to earn less as a country.
Well, that's certainly a benefit. That's certainly a benefit of it. But once you have surplus goods, obviously you'd want to sell them to whoever.
But is there any necessity to export?
Well, for foreign exchange, yes. I mean, your foreign exchange is what you sell overseas,
Yeah.
I mean, you can have all the money in Australia, and some people don't accept that. You know, it's what you sell overseas that's credited to you.
But isn't that what's getting the world economies into trouble? The fact that we're locked into this global...
I think just greed, Just greed. And futures, the future buying, that sort of nonsense, that's got to go.
Hedge
So, yeah, and I think they're working on that now. I think you'll find that there's a big wake-up call from this current crisis, and there's a lot of things will be coming up forward.
So what is stopping the debit tax in Australia?
Politicians, because they will lose control.
The political parties?
Yeah. Because once they got in, the people run the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there any chance of getting up a debit
what
tax?
politicians we believe could be on take from the current multinational states. But they'll come back too, and they'll live by our rules.
Interesting.
Thank you. I have a question. Are there any members of Parliament at any level in Australia that are actively supporting it or have come out in any way?
Yes, but I won't name them because I don't want to embarrass them. But,
Before time?
Before time, yes.
Sure. Thank you. That's good news. Yes, your question, sir.
I've always supported e-tax since the concept came out and was introduced to One Nation. I'm a former member of One Nation.
1 minute, if you say e-tax, you better explain that for people.
Oh, electronic tax. It's the debit tax, which Neville is speaking about. The thing that people don't often realise is that it's, they say that it's not sustainable. They say that a country couldn't survive on such a small percentage, say 1 to 3%. But the simple fact of the matter is that it compounds as it moves through each account. Every transaction is taxed with e-tax, with debit tax, and as it moves, it gets larger and larger and larger. And so, and the main factor is the corporations, the multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporations are no longer feeding funds overseas. Every time, many of these companies are getting away with tax. They're skipping the whole system. They change from account to account, and they split the funds up so that yeah.
There's a question.
Thanks very much.
It's mainly to support, actually. It wasn't really, I should have clarified that. It's to support.
I understand.
Yeah.
And we're happy to take Neville's comment on it. Yes, thank you.
Well, you sort of lost me a little bit there. This does away with a lot of shenanigans that used to go on in the international market. Yes, yes. I think I see what you were getting to.
Yeah.
You know, it's every transaction stands alone.
Yeah.
You know, and it just gets us 1%, or eventually will be 0.5%.
Yeah, no more tax fraud.
Well, it will end, and people, as I said, well, we touched on the cash under the bed. You won't leave your money because it won't become a cash society. It'll be a cashless society, and that's what we really want, because money is expensive. That's a bit of a, but that's a fact. It's expensive to make money, you know, and to keep making, to print money, and we would all be better off with plastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and let's thank Neville Black. One can easily see that is indeed a passion with him, and why not? I would certainly support that. Now, a couple of points. Normally, people who know me will realise that we don't take statements from the microphone. It's question time, and I've covered that in earlier forums. However, if we have a little bit of time, provided someone's relevant to the point, we've allowed that today. Would anybody like the opportunity to present something for 5 minutes? Sure. Okay, be ready in about 3, would that be okay? All right, man that can think on his feet, you see. It's not ready. It's good to be ready for an opportunity. You don't need to worry about it at all, you need to just get up and talk. Who's been a member of Toastmasters, Rostrum, International Women's Clubs and so on? Hands up. Have a look around. Okay, we've got some people. And what would you say about it in a word? Sing it out.
Confidence.
I was just going to say the same thing, confidence.
Experience.
Experience? Okay. The clubs are wonderful. Who's ever been along to a club even though they didn't become a member? Who's ever visited? All right. Good, more people. Who has a passion to some degree of getting something across to people, whatever it is, even if it's how to cook better? I mean, literally anything, including the subjects that we talk about during this Brisbane Forum. Who's got a passion, would love to be able to get things across? Yep. Would you? Put your hands up. Come on, let's see them. If you'd like to get... Thank you very much indeed. All right. It's true, isn't it? Who would rather commit suicide than speak publicly? You know, on different surveys it's been shown as the #1 fear in people's lives. The #1. It's not the tax. No. It's the death before people idea. Now, who thinks I was terrified when I first spoke. A couple of people, let me tell you, I was called up in the army way back when, but instead of going in for a couple of years full-time, I went in part-time. It turned out to be 7 years and longer. I was having a wonderful time playing the enemy, running an intelligence section. And when I was a corporal, we had a staff sergeant, and he was going to give a presentation to a group of about 20 officers. And a half an hour before he was going to give this presentation, he said, "Oh, Dennis, you can do this." Now, I do not remember anything that happened in that 20 minutes or in the 30 minutes of whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. I was up there, I was in a room with these officers, I don't know what happened. And one thing I remember, my knees were knocking. I was going like that. So it's not true that public speakers are born. No public speaker has ever been born.
You'd speak under wet cement.
Sorry?
I said you would speak under wet cement.
I'd speak under wet cement. Well, you see, once you've got it, of course, people say they couldn't speak for 2 minutes, but once they start to speak, sometimes it's difficult to get them to stop. The idea, of course, the only thing you need to know about a public speaker is stand up, speak up, and shut up. That's a good way of doing it. So one of the things I've recommended for many, many years is go and visit, don't join, just go and visit a Toastmasters club or a rostrum in your area. They're all over the place. You can go along often, it's just for an hour, either at lunchtime, evening, or in the morning. 5 days a week, you know. Some people join 3 clubs, they love it so much, they go to different clubs in their region. You learn many things. It will increase your confidence. There is no question about that. It will let you meet other people that tend to be networkers, tend to be people that are out there communicating. It will teach you something about running a meeting, because rostrum and Toastmasters meetings start on time. And there's a lot of joking. With Toastmasters in particular, they have a brilliant training manual that you work through gradually, and it's really good, very easy to follow. Nobody tells you you're a terrible speaker. They say what you did well, and they might give you a couple of points to improve. First time I went along to a roster meeting, and I didn't say anything on that night. I didn't need to, I just thought I'd see, and that's what you might do. The next week, I had an opportunity to say something, but I didn't feel it was the right time. I wasn't quite, prepared. The third week, I thought I might speak, but it really didn't fit in with the subjects they were talking about and whatever, so I didn't. I went home that night and I thought, listen, you came along to get some practice speaking. If you don't speak, you're just wasting your time. You'll never do it. So thereafter, I determined that at every meeting I would talk regardless, and I thought of some reason. So that's how I started. And for me, of course, it's something that I really love. And I've had feedback from people that I've talked to years ago who joined and now give little chats and so on. So give it a go. Go along for a meeting. They won't put you on the spot. Now, just write out what your topic is and on a piece of paper and your name, and bring it up for me, please, while we have a little stretch break. Right? Now, what a stretch break is everybody stands up. Thank you very much. Everybody up. Don't leave your area. And turn to the person closer to you. Oh, sorry, everybody turn to your right. Your right. Thank you very much. Now put your hands up on the shoulders of the person in front. Give them a gentle massage. I can see we've got some old timers here, because some people started massaging before I meant the word. Okay, keep going. Just a little bit more of a massage, right? I can see people smiling, so they're obviously happy about it. Right. Okay, turn around the other way, please. You know what it says? As you sow, so shall ye reap. Get into it. Come on, somebody's not getting a massage. Everybody, that's it. Very good indeed. All right, thank you very much. You can stop now. Did I hear someone say that'll be $5 for All right, what we're going to hear now for 5 minutes is about the connection between economics, war and terrorism. So let's welcome, speaking on that subject, Harry Fitzgerald Behrens. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can hear me well? Or? Okay. My theme is today the connection between war, terror and economics. To bring it on a very short notice or sentence, I just repeat what Bernard Baruch, a Jewish advisor to many US presidents, including World War I President Woodrow Wilson and World War II President Franklin Delano Roosevelt spoke.
You need to stand back. If you hear it popping, that's because you're too close.
Is that better?
That's about right, just right.
Oh, very well. I didn't realize that. I said he was an advisor to many US presidents and also to World War II President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he used to say all wars are economics in origin. Especially with World War II, Baruch's quote became the living reality. Why? Because in 1933, international jury declared war on Germany. It was an economic boycott in the beginning, but ended in the military action of World War II. This war, ladies and gentlemen, is still ongoing because Germany has no peace treaty. The other thing is that in 1913, and my research is based on a Jewish researcher, Dr. Henry Marceau, and he clearly found out that in 1913 our problem began with the establishment of the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States. We have the proof today that all the major conflicts in the world, the First World War, the Second World War, the little wars we had in Vietnam, Korea, and now Iraq, the World Trade Center, is all based and founded in the establishment of that Federal Reserve Bank. And we know that World War III is in the planning, and I can say only one thing. If we are not able to stuff these people into all eternity, we will have a money dictatorship in this world so badly that you wish Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin back. That's what I can say. And to counter that, I will give you today the power weapon to challenge your government, to put it on notice. I'm not a Muslim or Judaic Christian confidence trickster, but a Nordic